What's going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and we have a loaded show for you guys today. As I said in the past, I'm not going to talk about the J.J. McCarthy, Sam Darnold debate on who's going to be QB1 next season, but I thought this would be a perfect time to really deep dive into that. Then on the second half of today's show, are the Vikings Super Bowl contenders, and how can they get the number one seed in the NFC? We'll talk about all that on today's show, but before we dive into it, I need you guys to pick a QB for me. Obviously, we don't know the final story with Sam Darnold this season, but right now, if you had to make a choice, QB1 for next season, give me a 14 for Sam Darnold or give me a 9 for J.J. McCarthy. Let me know your thoughts down below. All right, let's dive into it, and I think this picture is absolutely perfect to kind of give a picture on this true QB debate. You got Sam Darnold looking on J.J. McCarthy back in that first preseason game against the Las Vegas Raiders. And, I want to get this take out here first before we dive into it. And I think Vikings fans are so set on we need to find the quarterback through the draft because he's ours. We drafted him. I just feel like fans are just naturally wanting to have their franchise quarterback be the guy they drafted. But the whole point of this whole thing is just to find a franchise quarterback, whether that's free agency, the draft, or the trade market, and maybe the Vikings have him in Sam Darnold. And this is just a thought I've had. Let's just say JJ goes out there either next year or the year after, and he's having a very similar season of what Darnold has done this year with 23 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Vikings are 10-2. What would we be saying? We would be saying we have our guy. We have our franchise quarterback. And, I just still feel like there are these blinders with Sam Darnold that have started back when he was with the New York Jets. Because, listen, not just in sports, but in life, first impressions are everything. And NFL fans, their first impression of Sam Darnold was not good. He was terrible with the Jets. But I think a lot of that had to do with one, obviously him not playing the same level of football that he has with the Minnesota Vikings, but two, it's a support system. Like, he didn't have weapons. He didn't have a head coach or a team that believed in him. And now with all of that, we have seen his best season of his NFL career. I mean, in 12 games this season, highest completion percentage in his short NFL career so far, just under 3,000 yards, 10 touchdowns, or 23 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and we saw that dual threat ability really come to fruition over the past couple of weeks. 187 rush yards so far for Sam Darnold this season, and really, he has just been fantastic. And if I had to give a game ball over the last 2 weeks on who has really sparked the last two victories for the Minnesota Vikings, it has to go to Sam Darnold. But the stats go deeper than that. Like, big-time throw percentage this season, 6.4% of all throws were considered big-time throws according to PFF, which is 25 completions. Then turnover-worthy play percentage, this was sitting around 5.5% a couple weeks ago. Now he's dropped it down to 4, and that only equates to 18 total plays of turnover-worthy plays, and then just a completion percentage, sitting at 78.5. But the one take that really bothers me about why Sam Darnold has been so successful this season is that he has the best support system out of any QB in the NFL. And yes, he has a good support system. I'm not saying he doesn't, because Kevin O'Connell, Justin Jefferson, I mean, that is just enough to get the best out of a quarterback. And, I just think if you look around, like you look at the Lions, they get the best offensive line in the league. The Vikings offensive line has struggled this year. The Lions, they also have a great run game. Vikings can outrun the football. So really, the offensive success has been on the right arm of Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, and Kevin O'Connell. And he's kind of had to overcome, losing Christian Darrisaw for the year, not having a run game, and he's still playing elite football. So 3 reasons on why to keep Sam Darnold. Number one, I think he's proven already. I think he's escaped kind of this pumpkin mode that everybody was, hoping almost that would come. I think he's escaped it because we saw him kind of go half pumpkin mode against the Colts, Jags, and or mainly just those 2 games. But the last 3 weeks against the Titans, Bears, and Cardinals, he has been awesome. And, if you look at like the modern day quarterback, I think you obviously need to have some mobility, and JJ has that as well. But you also need to have a big-time arm. He's a physical guy. I mean, he stands at 6'3", 230 pounds. Like, he is a tough dude to bring down inside the pocket. He has mobility. We've seen him make plays off script. And then also this, I think he's only going to get better. I think we have just started to scratch the surface of who Sam Darnold could really be in the NFL. And I just think with him getting more familiar with the offense, and could you imagine if he had a full offseason? where Kevin O'Connell saying, hey, you're our guy. We're going to ride with you for all 17 games next season. He could just dive into the playbook, and he would also have the confidence of the coaching staff and this entire team. But it even goes further than that with Darnold. I mean, his ranks in the NFL this season are fantastic. I mean, passer rating, 102.5. Pass touchdowns, 4th in the league. Touchdown percentage, 5th in the league. Yards per pass, 5th in the league. And he is a big-time thrower. Explosive plays come from the right arm of Sam Darnold. 20-plus yard throws. He's got 45 this season, which is actually first in the NFL. But you got to play both sides with this, because we just gave an argument on why they should keep Darnold, but why they should go the JJ. Now, the number one reason for this, I think, is the money. Since he is going to be on a rookie deal, you could really load up the whole rest of the roster around him, kind of go that San Francisco 49ers route where they had a QB on a rookie deal. They have a loaded roster around him. And then also the unknown with JJ. That could be both sides. That could be, man, he could be a top 10 quarterback, or also what if he just ends up being a bust? Like, we truly do not know. And then I put this one, mini Kevin O'Connell. When I hear this kid speak, whether it's press conferences or just whatever setting on a podcast, he sounds like Kevin O'Connell, like how he's all dedicated to the process. It's not about the results. It's about the process. JJ is the same way. And, Vikings fans, you probably all think about that first preseason game against the Raiders where, listen, he lit it up, man. 11-17, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Now, I will say this was against the Raiders, 3rd and 4th string guys, and, they're a terrible team over there in Las Vegas, so I don't want to put too much stock into this, but I do feel like Vikings fans are just acting like, oh, JJ's going to work. We saw him in one preseason game. You truly never know how these guys are going to translate to regular season and big-time games. Now, listen, I'm a believer in JJ. I mean, I went to high school with the kid, so I think he will work out in the NFL, but still, you want to play both sides of this. And again, the whole point of this whole thing is to find a franchise quarterback. But if we get any more updates around the JJ McCarthy, Sam Darnold kind of debate here, I will have video for you guys. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help us reach 44,000 subs here on the channel. Also, one quick thing, should have mentioned this before. I think it is ludicrous that these beat reporters around the Minnesota Vikings are just pretty much coming out and saying there is no chance Sam Darnold is back as the starting quarterback next season. I think that's ludicrous, because let's just say the Vikings do get the 5 seed, they win their wild card matchup, and let's just say they go to Philly in the divisional and he wins that game, he will be back as the starting quarterback. You don't go win 12, 13, 14 games in a season, and then you go win 2 playoff games just to have your team move off him. So just want to get that out there. But coming up next year on the show, are the Vikings Super Bowl contenders, and how can they land the number 1 seed in the NFC? We'll talk about that here in a second. But first off, I do want to give a massive shout out to today's presenting sponsor, and that's PrizePicks. Now, if you guys download the PrizePicks app today, use code CONS. You guys will get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CONS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Now, what is PrizePicks? PrizePicks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. Now, if you guys want to make a Minnesota Wild game, Minnesota Timberwolves game more interesting, PrizePicks is the best way to do so, because even if it's a blowout, you can follow your PrizePicks lineup throughout the whole match. So if you guys want to give them a chance, download the app today. Get $50 instantly if you use code CONS after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today. Use code CONS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. But massive shout out to PrizePicks for sponsoring today's show. PrizePicks, run your game. Super Bowl. Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me I would be making this video back in August, I would have said you are absolutely crazy. But hey, let's talk about it. Are the Vikings Super Bowl contenders? Well, let's look at the NFC playoff picture, because I think the path to the Super Bowl matters a whole lot this season, because there's a difference. You get the number 1 seed, you just got to win 2 home playoff games to get the Super Bowl. But if you're the 5 seed, you're most likely going to have to go and play 3 straight road games. Now, I'm going to take the negative side of this first. Why they aren't contenders, because there are some glaring stats with this Vikings team that would indicate that they maybe are a contender or a pretender over a contender. They're 27th in giveaways offensively this season. Not good. You cannot have those turnovers in the playoffs. They're 26th in sacks allowed, so that would just allow you to get behind the sticks over and over again. And then they're 26th in rushing EPA per play, and they're actually in the bottom third of red zone efficiency. And this last part, Sam Darnold. He's just got no playoff experience like the other quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, Jared Goff. I mean, Goff, Hurts, both have gone to a Super Bowl before. Darnold hasn't even played in a playoff game. So those are 5 reasons on why they aren't. But if you also go a little deeper here and just look at the raw numbers on both sides for the offense and the defense, they rank out very highly. Top 10 scoring offense, top 5 scoring defense. They're about middle of the pack on third down on both sides of the football. But the one thing I do love about this defense is that they are only giving up 81.3 rush yards per game, which is first in the NFL. And when I think about a Super Bowl type of defense, number one, you got to be a good scoring defense. Vikings are top 5. But the fact that you're able to stop the run, first in the league, only giving up 81.3 rush yards per game, you're 4th in sacks with 39 on the year, 3rd in pressures, and you're 2nd in takeaways. This right here, just honestly, this graphic is the best kind of case to make on why the Vikings are Super Bowl contenders. And, I will give one gripe, or one kind of if I had to give one slight to Kevin O'Connell being the head coach for the Vikings over the last couple of years, they have been more of a finesse football team than a physical football team. And I think when playoff time comes around, you got to rely on your running backs. You got to rely on the trenches. So, I think it will all come down to the trenches for the Vikings in the playoffs on both sides of the football. Because we saw last week, the Arizona Cardinals, they were just getting 5 yards after 5 yards after 5 yards on 1st and 2nd down. They were able to establish the run at a very, very high level. And also offensively for the Vikings. No run game whatsoever. So, I think it's going to come down to the trenches, but it could also come down to if the Vikings can get the number 1 seed. So, the Vikings' last 5 games, so that shakes out. You got 2 home games against the Falcons and the Bears. If you want to get the number 1 seed, these are both must-wins. Then you travel to Seattle. Tough place to play, I get that. But if you're a Super Bowl contender, you go and win that game. And then you're back at home versus Green Bay, which is going to be a monster game, not only for the NFC North title, but potentially for that 5-6 seed matchup in the wild card race. Then obviously you close it with the Lions. So right here, let's just say the Vikings, I'll say they go 4-1. Let's just say they lose to the Seahawks, Packers, or Bears, but you still are able to beat the Lions. Now, that sets up for the Lions' last 5 games where they just need to drop necessarily one more game besides the Vikings. Now, it would get tricky with tiebreakers if their one loss besides the Vikings loss would be to the Bills, because the tiebreakers go down to, divisional record, conference record, same game opponent record. And so if they lost to the Bills, they wouldn't be able to jump that tiebreaker. But hopefully they can drop a game to the Bears or the Niners, or, hey, go Packers tonight in that matchup. But, I also want to close out today's show with this. Some Vikings fans, for some reason, just will always find a reason to complain. I just want everybody to enjoy the ride. This team has $60 million in dead cap. We lost our starting cornerback back in July to a torn ACL, and then our rookie cornerback, Kyrie Jackson, tragically passed away. Christian Darrisaw, he was out for the year with his ACL injury, and you are necessarily in a rebuilding year, and you are 10-2. Like, enjoy this ride. I am so happy that we're talking about this instead of talking about draft position potentially. So, Vikings fans, even though it hasn't gone completely smoothly, just enjoy the ride and just enjoy this whole process for the rest of the season. But I'll ask you guys this. Big Thursday night game. Who are you rooting for? Give me a P for the Packers or an L for the Lions. And I hate saying this, but Skol Packers tonight. I understand you want to, make some keep some room between you and the Packers for that 5-6 seed, but also I want that number 1 seed, baby. So I'm going to be rooting for the Packers. But you guys let me know your thoughts down below. Also, I'm on Twitter, @PatSeeps is the Twitter handle. Give me a follow over there. We'll see you guys next time. Skol Vikes.